Right, we're back. Another episode, second part of the hindsight for your foresight. All right, so we're gonna start today with chapter 6, which is ages 40 to 50, redefining success. Hopefully, he's got a bit out of the last one. This is a second back end, so as we get to the older people, and then I'll give some insights and talk about what I would do to implement this stuff. So, ages 40 to 50, redefining success. This is the decade where the truth hits. You've spent 20 years climbing. You've built something, a career, a family, a reputation, but deep down you know it's not what you thought it would be. You look around at everything you've worked for, and there's a quiet question that won't leave. Was it worth it? You're not chasing anymore, you're managing. You're not dreaming, you're maintaining. You're not living, you're performing. The scariest part, you can't tell when you started to fade into routine. You're proud, but you're tired. Successful, but you're restless. You've ticked the boxes, house, family, career, stability, but the feeling you thought would come with it never did. You've achieved everything you were told to, and it still feels like something's missing. That something is you. The generational insights are 50% said they wish they'd spent more time with family, 30% said they wish they had pursued personal fulfillment instead of chasing titles or recognition, and 20% said they wish they'd focused more on health earlier. When asked what brings satisfaction now, 55% said family, 25% said contribution or community, and 20% said simplicity and slowing down. The generational comparisons are what they valued then. Their career and status was 55%, family and connection 25%, health and simplicity 20%. And later on, when we're 65 plus, we say that back then we should have only focused 20% on career and status, 55% on family connection, and 25% on health and simplicity. The pattern, this is where the cracks start showing. You look successful, but you're quietly falling apart. You've built the life you thought you wanted, but now it feels like a trap you built yourself. You used to crave more, now you crave peace. You used to want recognition, now you just want rest. You spent decades trying to get ahead, but ahead of what? You've been chasing a finish line that keeps moving. This is when most people hit the halfway point and realise they've been sprinting in the wrong direction. They finally see how much they've traded away, health, connection, identity, to keep the machine running. And here's the worst part, they still keep running. Because slowing down feels like failure, because admitting they got it wrong feels like weakness, because no one ever taught them how to stop without losing everything. The wake-up call. You're not in a midlife crisis, you're in a truth check. Your body's slowing down, your patience is wearing thin, your priorities are screaming for attention, and you're pretending not to hear them. You keep telling yourself, I'll fix it later. But later is gone. You're halfway through life, you don't have another half to waste. You don't need more success, you need more silence. You don't need more things, you need more meaning. If you don't redefine success now, life will do it for you, usually through loss, illness, or emptiness. Don't wait until something breaks to realize what actually matters. Our reflection on this is that this is the turning point, where people either keep chasing what looks good or start building what feels right. Success without peace isn't success. It's burnout with better marketing. Simplify, reconnect, protect your energy like it's the last currency you have, because it is. Stop trying to find balance. You're not supposed to balance everything. You're supposed to prioritize what matters most and let the rest fall away. Then we go to chapter 7, ages 50 to 60, preparing for the future. This is the decade when reality starts knocking, and it doesn't knock softly. You spent your whole life building, now you start wondering what it's all been for. You've worked hard, you've made sacrifices, you've built security. But if you're honest, it doesn't feel secure, it feels fragile. You used to think 50 was old, now you realise it's in the middle. And you can finally see how much time you've wasted on things that don't matter. You've hit the age where consequences catch up, your health, your marriage, your energy, all the stuff you said you'd fix later. But later is now. You tell yourself you're planning for the future, but you're still running from the past. You're saving for retirement like it's going to buy back your youth. It won't. You've got money in the bank, but no stamina in your body. You've got assets, but no adventure. You've got plans, but no pulse. Most people hit 50 and start preparing for the future. But the truth is, they're cleaning up the mess of how they lived before it. The generational insights say that 70% said their top financial focus was retirement planning and stability. 20% said health and wellness were becoming their main priorities. 10% said supporting children or grandchildren was their key focus. Later in life, 60% said they wish they'd save more consistently, 30% said they wish they'd prioritise their health earlier, and 10% said they wish they'd spent less time working and more time making memories. The key generational comparison, at this age, retirement and finances was 70%, But later on, in the older years, they wished that they balanced earlier and put 40% here. Health and wellness was 20%. They wish later on that they'd put 45% here. Family and connection was 10%. And they wish they had at least 15% and they made more time. The pattern, this decade is when people start realizing how short the runway really is. You think you're preparing, but you're actually mourning. You start seeing what you missed, the birthdays you skipped, the conversations you never had, the memories you never made because you're too busy. You're not building wealth now. You're trying to buy back time. But time doesn't negotiate. You look at your kids and realize they're adults now. You look at your body and see it slowing down. You look at your life and see a pattern you wish you'd broken sooner. It's confronting, but it's also your last real chance to change it. The wake-up call is you're not too late, but you're close. This is where people either shift from chasing to living, or they die chasing. There's no in-between. You've done the hard work, now you have to do the harder work, letting go. Let go of the need to prove yourself. Let go of the version of success that's been running your life for decades. Let go of the idea that more is always better. You don't need more, you need less, but better. The future isn't something you plan for anymore. It's something you're living in. You spent your whole life working for freedom. Now it's time to actually use it. Money gives you options, but it doesn't give you meaning. That part's on you. At this stage, your wealth isn't in your bank account, it's in your body, your family, your peace. Protect those like you once protected your career. Because no one lies on their deathbed wishing they'd answered more emails. Chapter 8, ages 60 to 70, finding fulfillment. This is the decade where you finally slow down, or life slows down for you. You spent decades chasing, building, proving. You've ticked every box, and now you realize most of them didn't matter. You've got more money than ever, but less time to use it. You've got experience, but less energy. You got wisdom, but no rewind button. The irony? You spent your life trying to reach this stage, and now that you're here, you wish you'd go back and live differently. You start to see what success really costs. You miss the moments that made life rich. The little ones that never felt big enough to matter. You skipped the dinners. You ignored your body. You told yourself it was just for now. Now lasted 30 years. And for what? A career that forgot you the moment you stopped showing up. A house full of stuff that no one wants. A calendar that finally has free time but no one left to fill it with. This is where regret becomes real. Not the abstract kind you brush off in your 30s, but the kind that keeps you up at night. The generational insights is that 60% said spending time with family was their greatest source of happiness. 30% said personal interests or hobbies brought them the most fulfillment, and 10% said community involvement gave them meaning. But when asked what they wished they'd done earlier, 55% said they wished they'd prioritized their health sooner. 45% said they wished they'd chosen experiences over possessions. Key generational insights. At this age, 60% have focused, so they focus 60% of them on family and connection, 25% on health and wellness, and 15% on hobbies and purpose. In the 80 plus category though, 65% said that family and connection still remains most valued, 30% on the health and they wish they started earlier, and 25% said hobbies and purpose, and they wish they nurtured these sooner. The pattern? This is the decade when people finally understand what wealth really means, and it's not money, it's time. They realize they spent the first half of their life earning what the second half couldn't use. You don't need more years, you need more living in the ones you've got, because by now the clock isn't ticking, it's bounding. People at this stage don't talk about what they achieved, they talk about who they missed, who they hurt, who they wish they'd called sooner. This is when they stop chasing someday and start realizing it was always today that mattered. The wake-up call. You don't need to reach 60 to learn these lessons. You can apply them now, or you can join the statistics of people who wish they had. Stop trading moments for money. Stop building for a tomorrow you might never reach. Stop measuring success by how busy you are. You're not supposed to die with the most achievements. You're supposed to die with the least regret. You're supposed to die with the least regret. If you make it to your 60s, you'll either feel peace or panic. Peace comes from alignment. Panic comes from realizing you ran out of time to change. Which one you feel will depend on what you're doing right now. Our reflection is that fulfillment isn't found in the things you buy. It's in the time you didn't waste. Every older person says the same thing. Health first, family second, everything else is noise. You don't need to reach retirement to start living. You just need to stop pretending that waiting is preparation. You've been working for freedom your whole life. Don't wait until your body can't use it to finally start enjoying it. Chapter 9, 70 to 80, Embracing the Wisdom. This is the part of life where the noise finally stops. There's no more rush. No more pretending. No more proving. Just the truth. The kind that can't be bought, rushed, or undone. You've lived the story, you've played the game, you've seen how fast it all goes, and now, looking back, you can see the pattern clearer than ever. The money came, the milestones came, the recognition came, but none of it stayed. What stayed were the people, or the silence left when they were gone. At this age, no one talks about their achievements. They talk about the moments that never came back, the birthdays they missed, the kids they barely saw grow up, the health they thought would last longer. Every old person tells you the same thing and you probably won't listen until you're one of them. They say, I wish I hadn't worried so much. I wish I said yes to more time with people I loved, and I wished I'd looked after my health sooner. Every generation says it, every generation ignores it, and every generation pays the same price. You think you'll be the exception, but you won't if you don't change. The generational insights are that 70% said family and relationships are their greatest source of peace. 20% said health remains their most valued asset. 10% said giving back or mentoring others brings the most purpose. When asked what they would tell their younger self, 60% said let go of the worry sooner. 40% said protect your relationships and your health. Everything else can wait. Key generational comparison. Their current priority is family and relationships at 70%. They wish when they were younger, they only appreciated this for about 30%, and they wish they'd increase that. At this age, health and peace of mind is 20%, and they maybe 5 to 10% when they were younger, and they wish this was more. At this age, giving back and legacy is 10%, 5% when they were younger, so they rarely considered it, and they wish they'd changed that. The pattern: by this stage, the truth is brutal and clear. Everything you were scared to lose doesn't matter. Everything you took for granted was everything that did. You start to realize life was never about what you built. It was about who you built it with. Every memory that brings peace has nothing to do with money or status. It's about laughter, presence, love, the small, ordinary things that ended up being the only things. And the point? It's not from what you lost. It's from knowing you could have lived better when you had the chance. That's the hardest part of wisdom. It comes after you need it. The wake-up call. If you're reading this and you're not there yet, listen. The people at this stage aren't trying to impress anyone. They're trying to warn you. You don't need to wait until your body slows down to realize how fast time moves. You don't need to lose someone to understand what really matters. You don't need to be old to start being wise. Peace doesn't arrive at 70. It's built every day before it. If you don't build it now, you'll spend your later years trying to buy it, and it's not for sale. Our reflection. At the end of it all, wealth means nothing if you don't have health. Success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. And time means nothing if you wasted it being busy instead of being present. Legacy isn't what people remember about you. It's how they live because of you. So before you become old and the old voice saying, I wish I had, be the person who says, I'm glad I did. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stop postponing peace. Our conclusion, the final reflections on life's journey. Every person thinks they're different. They're not. Everyone believes they'll learn sooner, listen faster, and live smarter. Almost no one does. You think you're building a life. You're really building habits, and those habits decide everything. The data across generations doesn't lie. It tells the same story every time. We chase approval in our teens, we chase success in our 20s, we chase balance in our 30s, we chase meaning in our 40s, and we chase peace in our 50s, and we chase time in our 60s plus. The problem? We chase everything except presence. You can look at every percentage in this book, every chart, every regret, and it all adds up to one thing. People don't regret failure. They regret distraction. They regret the family dinners they skipped, the moments they watched through screens, the health they ignored until it broke, the peace they postponed until it was gone. It's not bad luck, it's choice, multiplied over years. You think you'll be different because you're aware now, but awareness means nothing without action. If you keep saying, I'll slow down later, later will come, and you'll be too tired to enjoy it. If you keep saying, I'll focus on my health next year will arrive, and you'll be in a doctor's room wondering how it got this far. If you keep saying, I'll make more time for family when things settle, you'll look up one day and realize they stopped waiting. This isn't about guilt, it's about clarity. You can't control time, but you can control how you use it. You can't buy peace, but you can protect it. You can't add years to your life, but you can add life to your years. That's what foresight really is. It's living now like you already know what will matter later, because we do. The simple truth, at 10 you think happiness is freedom. At 20 you think it's success. 30 you think it's balance. 40 you think it's meaning. 50 you think it's stability. 60 you think it's peace. And 70 you finally realize it was love. Don't wait 7 decades to figure that out. There's a table here that we'll put up. Generational overview, shifts in priorities over time. Oh, it's better as an image, so I'll put that up here. Have a look. The pattern. Every decade the priorities change. Every generation learns too late. Every one of them thought they were different just like you. When I started in finance, I thought wealth was simple, more money, more freedom, more success, but I was wrong. It wasn't freedom. It was pressure in disguise. I saw it in my own life. I saw it in my clients. The people with the most money weren't the happiest. They were the most exhausted. They had houses they never lived in, cars they didn't care about, and calendars that controlled them. And then I saw the other kind of people, the ones with balance. They didn't have the biggest accounts, but they had something far rarer: peace, presence, and perspective. That's when I realized money's just a tool. It's not wealth, it's a vehicle. Real wealth is when your lifestyle, your health, and your money actually work together for what matters. That's what we do at Three Kings Wealth Management. That's what it was built around. Not financial advice, but life alignment. We still manage money, but our mission is bigger than numbers. It's to redefine wealth so people stop chasing what looks good and start living with what feels right. And the rest is all just acknowledgements and stuff which you can go through. But that's the book. And I love it. I'm really proud of that book. Now, like I said in the last one, I'm not sitting up in a high horse, on my high horse talking about I'm perfect. I wrote this mainly for me because I'm probably the biggest culprit of this, but the difference is I'm conscious about it. And I go through stages, but I try and come back to realignment often. And I know with the conscious level, the approach of the consciousness approach that I have, if I'm still doing that, then most of you 100% are in some way, shape or form. I'm not sitting here telling you to stop hustling. I'm not sitting here telling you to quit and sit on the couch or go travel, whatever. All I'm asking you to do is think about it. And all I'm asking you to do is sit down and figure out, put in on paper or on the computer, whatever, what your dream life looks like from a fulfillment point. Whether that's things or experiences, whatever. Sit down and get deep with yourself and figure out who you are and what you want. And write it down. Then figure out off the back of that how much is actually enough and what's required for you to get there. Now, you can't have a dream life with no money, but you don't need all the money to do it. And I have this saying, money means nothing. Money means nothing when you have it all, but it means everything when you have none. And finding that middle point. And I remember in one of my other chats I talk about balance isn't equal. It's not about having a foot in each court all the time equally. It's about applying the level of approach to that sector that you need for the required outcome at that time, but understanding once you've achieved that, how to dial back and move it to somewhere else. So you might need to hustle for a bit. There's times when I'm balls deep in work and it's hard, and I know, but I know when the burnout's coming, or I know when I've done what's required, then I go on a holiday, or then I spend time with my family, or I then get back into health, right? And yeah, in an ideal world, I'd like to balance all of them all the time, but that's just not realistic. But I have goals. I have set my plan out, so I know at each point in time where I should be tracking and how I should be going, so I can dial back or dial up as I need. And I also have fallback approaches. So I've got, things in place so that if all my hustling doesn't work out and it's become too much and it's not worth it anymore, so I'm not just chasing my tail forever, I can just pull back and stop and then just apply to the other things that are important. But during these periods where I am hustling or going through that approach, I'm taking more risk and I'm working harder because I feel like I can to have a little bit more, have that dream life. But I also have a stop loss. So at some point, if it just becomes too much, I'll cut those bigger goals away and just be happy with what I've got. Because if you're not happy with what you have, you'll never be happy with more. So all I'm saying in this book and in these videos is just try and get more conscious, right? Try and take some of that wisdom from the older ages and try and just shift a little bit away from where you might be doing too much that's not serving your purpose. And just try and enjoy the present moment a little bit more and being a bit more happy and grateful for what you've got. And just add that tiny little bit of fulfillment. Keep hustling, 100%. But try not to sacrifice the things that really matter just for an extra zero in your bank account.